Hello, 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 and welcome to the Upset Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Latasha Hewitt, and we have the whole gang here. We are together in the flesh. What's up, everybody?
Yes.
Hello, family. Good to see
Finally.
you.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes.
We have arrived.
It's a little weird for us not to look at each other on the screen, but it's great for us to be together. We wanted the final episode of this year for us to be able to look each other in the eyes and, feel
That we can fight close up.
Exactly. Get our energies right. And so we're going to take this opportunity to kind of reflect. I mean, can you guys believe that we have like over 40 episodes?
Amazing.
No,
Amazing.
Like,
40
who would have
episodes.
thought?
40.
Wow.
And they're
Launching.
pretty funny.
I know, when you look back, it's kind of amazing, right? Our first episode, if you may recall, aired February the 21st. But before we even get there, let's talk about how this podcast even came together. Okay, now, how many of you remember when you received an email from me? I think you guys remember receiving a little invitation to be a part of this? Tell me, guys, honestly, what was your first reaction when you saw this request to be part of it?
I ain't got time.
I was excited because I thought that a podcast is just what Allegheny East needed. And I was just eager to see what it would be like. So, yeah, that was discovered along the way. But I was definitely excited to be a part of a new podcast.
Well, we knew he was going to be involved because he also had he's the one that was telling everybody about the new thing that had come out, social media,
Clubhouse?
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And he GP had risen to the top. With,
That's a lie.
When it came to
Fabrication.
podcast, I'm not. When it came to podcasting and all of that, and I think that GP was one that we knew was going to jump on.
Yep. Glad to be a part. And glad we're still here. Most important.
That's important.
Because lots of podcasts start and they fade.
That's right. We kind of
In
picked
less
the
than a year.
momentum.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I knew I wasn't going to do it. I don't believe I'm here now.
We don't see
it,
him.
right?
I knew I wouldn't do it. I mean, the last thing I wanted to see was another microphone. And so,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. But it was actually how the idea was birthed was because of a presentation you did. Well, we had always had in our minds to do a podcast, but during workers meeting, I don't know if you remember this, you had done a presentation and I remember someone said in the chat, well, we need a podcast. And I'm the type of person, when I hear a good idea, like you can't just let those things just sit.
I remember
and
that.
so because you were really the inspiration for a podcast, you had to be a part of it, right?
I have not heard a young lady say that I was an inspiration for anything in the last 25 years.
What about you, Pat?
I think I was on the first email, and I've done podcasts, short podcasts. Kamon Hines would push us on these podcasts and how to do it. So I was really interested in how it was going to look from a corporate standpoint instead of something that I was just pushing on my own. So
personal
I wanted to be a part of it when it first came out.
Now, we all know when we were putting this thing together, of course, we're going to include our media director, right? As part of the planning. And so we're getting together and talking and strategizing. Charles was giving all his input.
Right.
This is what we should do.
And I was standing by the door and saying, have a good show, guys.
We're like, oh, no. You've been with us all this time. You're going with us all the way. And what was your reaction?
I was shocked and amazed. For all my career, I've been on the other side of the camera. And microphones and directing and whatever. And I never thought of myself as, a host or personality, So
You got personality.
it was hard to get used to. And then it occurred to me, I said, maybe I'll get to say all those things that I was blurting out in the parking lot,
Hoping others would say no. You can say them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of grew on me. I resisted for several episodes.
Yes, he did.
My family can tell you when I walk at the door, I said, I'm not doing any more. I'm not doing any more.
And here you are.
But yeah,
I think that is I think the biggest revelation is Charles and his perspectives and his opinion. I mean, everybody knew that. I mean, if God ever developed laryngitis, they would call Charles. So they knew he had the voice, but people didn't hear him before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest revelation that.
And people are saying,
Yeah.
wow, Charles
Charles-
makes sense.
Yeah.
No, Charles speaks.
Let me tell you what's humbling. My church members came to me and they said, "We watched the podcast. We enjoy it so much. That Charles,
Oh, come on.
Yep.
I kid you not, Charles.
Charles stealing all the fans.
Sharp fella.
Yeah, and I say, thank you.
And I just want to say, people say, "Yo, we don't hear Charles speak that much," but because I'm in meetings with him all the time, I know what he has to offer. I know the thoughts and the things that say. I said, people need to hear this stuff, not just in our little meetings.
Yeah,
and so I'm glad that you decided to go ahead and
What do you mean decided
We
to go
love
ahead?
Charles.
to brave this.
Decided. Chuck gave every he gave us all the pointers from point one all the way through all the equipment that we needed to get. And what was GP? What did he say?
All right, guys, have a great show. Hold up, wait 1 minute. No,
That's not how this is going down.
and he was like, no, well, let me just get on the first one. I can do the first one.
He thought he was going to be able to squeeze out and we not notice. But also in the beginning, we knew, looking at our 5, because we started off with 5, as you guys know. We were like, okay, we too many male voices.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
This is
Right.
too much.
Yeah, mercy.
Wow.
Can't carry
Wow.
this female
Yeah.
voice on my own. And so we said, we have to bring in another female perspective. And that was an interesting process because, we already had created somewhat of a connection and a vibe. And, okay, we need to invite someone else. And so we're just listing all of these people that we think would be great. And we had this strategy. Let's just invite them on as guests, different ones on as guests, and then we can see which one may vibe. So we brought you on, and I don't know if you remember the first episode that you were on, Marlena, was the LGBTQI. We really wanted to indoctrinate you and see if you could hang with us. And listen, after that episode, we're like, all right, auditions in here.
Yep.
This is the one. We're good. But what were you thinking, Marlena, when first we were
So I got a message from Tosh that I remember you guys announcing you were going to start a podcast, but in my very busy schedule, I had not been able to see it. And so when Tosh called and says, hey, we need another female on the cast. You think you could do a couple of weeks? I was like, sure. Do a couple of weeks. And then she gave me the topics. I said, ooh, those are heavy topics. My goodness. So then I came and I don't know what Tally said that caused me to battle him. But anyway, they were appreciative of my insight in the 2 weeks have been a long, long time. And next thing I know, they were sending me mics and they were sending me all this stuff. I was like,
You're in.
I was like, am I here to stay?
Yeah, we didn't really give people a lot of options with this podcast. We just said, you're in, and that's how it happened.
But it's been wonderful. I mean, everyone is so wise and good. And so my little, I know I got 3 fans out there. I appreciate it.
I'm sure there.
I think it had to be notes that Latasha, she smiles and she's very pleasant. But this is the most gangster woman. I mean, you think you have a choice and you don't, We were all up here early in the morning,
Yeah.
driving up saying bad words. And that Latasha. Then we get it, we say, oh, hi, Latasha.
I didn't leave this room, but half an hour and came back and it was changed.
Don't put that one on. We're not going to get into that.
That's all.
Latasha has what you call ask tell.
What you say?
Ask tell.
Yeah, you need your pronunciation.
No cussing. This is rated G for everyone.
Good night,
Bunch
man.
of preaching cussing
It's the
preachers.
shoes. It's the shoes. It's the shoes. It's the shoes.
Yeah,
Ask
but,
tell.
Sister Sandra Austin, who's our prayer coordinator for the conference, she has this thing where she says, it's not a good idea, it's a God idea. And I feel like the podcast has really been like a God idea. And that's why I felt very comfortable strong arming some of you to be a part of it.
Oh, she's admitting it.
But if you guys remember, our first episode was, I think we were introducing ourselves, who are we? We're realizing that podcasts have a lot to do with personalities and people want to know who we are as people and why they should listen to us. So I want us to take a look back at how we described ourselves in episode 1. Let's take a look. How would would you say your friends? How would your friends describe you? Give me 2 adjectives. Your friends, those who know you the most. What are 2 adjectives they would use to describe you? We're gonna start with you, Pat, this time
Why you gotta start with me with that guy?
because I saw you smiling.
Now I gotta remember what an adjective
Well, I
is.
know where friends probably say resistant and truculent from right there, but
I think my friends would be like, man, he's hyperactivity. But on the other spectrum, I think I'm a thoughtful person. So I'll go right on hyper. I just love to talk about things, like to put things on the table. And so I think, though, if I could just say, I can't count. So let's say hyperactivity, but I'm still a thoughtful person.
Okay. Hyper and thoughtful.
Yeah.
Even your friends, those who are not your friends, would say those things about you. I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of things those who are not my friends would say about me. But
All right, Justin.
I think my friends would describe me as both low-key crazy, but wise and insightful.
Here you go.
Good. I like how you did that. You doubled it up. All right. Call him Tally. Tally, you have a lot of nicknames. We call you Tally, Nick.
that's according to what agency of the law I'm running from at that specific time. But my friends would probably say funny and articulate. Those 2 would probably be the 2 things that they'd say.
Very accurate.
If you allow for 4, funny, articulate, and swimsuit model. But,
There you go. There you go.
Obviously, yes. Only your friends would know that, right?
My blind ones. Yeah.
All right, Charles. Now I call him Charles. I just have this thing, but I know everyone else calls him Chuck. But so
You
what are
call
your
me Chuck.
adjectives?
That's fine. No, that's good. I don't know if workaholic would classify.
Yes.
Yes, it sure will. That's it.
Yeah. See, everybody agrees. Workaholic and determined.
Those
My
kind of go
friends
hand in
say
hand.
You just don't give up. You just, you're like water. You just go right around the rock when you're flowing down and just keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try to help you with that. Always have to try to encourage Charles to take vacations and stuff like that. The thing about asking these questions is that in the end, you have to answer them too. It's difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Sally, go on and ask her then. Ask her.
Yeah, I mean, if your friends were to have 2 words about you, Latasha, what would those 2 words be? Thank you very much. Now let's move on. No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? Pensive.
Pensive.
My friends, those who know me, know me. I can be a little crazy too. I think I have a sense of humor. Not many people get to see, but my friends kind of get to see it. I have more of that sarcastic humor,
Okay.
I would say. And why is it so hard for me? This is an easy question for me to ask. It's hard for me to answer. And I would say loyal. That's my other one.
Somewhere in the background, I hear your husband applauding wildly.
Before we talk about what we just said, what was it like watching yourself back? Isn't that
Painful.
Very.
I thought it was funny.
Very.
I was outside of it. It was hilarious.
I know.
I
It's
think
like
when I said determined, I was determined to not be on the show.
I was grateful to be able to identify myself because I'm so tired of people mistaking me for Idris Elba. It wears you out.
Yeah, no
right.
swimsuit models. But yeah, so based on the adjectives we use to describe ourselves, as of course, Tally, as you mentioned, funny and articulate. Would you say that we saw that in him?
It's pretty funny. Look, he tries to be a walking dictionary.
Yeah.
Use words that we
walking
haven't heard
anywhere.
before.
Yeah, if you couldn't be a pastor, I would say you can take a shot at being a comedian. You might have a shot at being
Absolutely.
I have
successful.
a little
Oh,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He used to go
indubitably,
to
I
a-
try to be perspicacious in my articulation.
Wow.
A lot of comedians are brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta
And
think
then
on your
there's
feet.
me.
And some people are just funny because they're just funny. I think Nick's just funny.
Yeah.
It's,
Flat out.
It's
My
definitely a
dad was funny.
giftedness. Yeah.
But when you look back on it, Tally, you know, the show, even though the show, all of our shows have this, it reaches this height. When Tally's not there, you know he's not there.
Yeah.
The smell is one of them. No, but it's almost like we have to push a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because Tally has this way of, he could end the show in like 5 minutes if he wanted to, just
Yeah.
by talking.
There's no one to fight with.
right. And I have to say this, Tally, that starting this show has allowed me to go back, and I know this sounds crazy, but we say this to kids: use your words. So it has brought me to the point of reading about things before we talk about it, studying about it before we talk about it. Even if I don't say anything about it, at least now you know. So Tally, I have to say that about you.
You know, that was very thoughtful of you, Patrick, to say. And I think that was one of the adjectives you used to describe yourself. Thoughtful and crazy, I believe, was the other one. Can we agree?
We got a
that-
lot of crazy around here.
I thought you said
Lot
you
of
were
cray
crazy.
cray.
I think we all said we were crazy, to be honest with you. I think that was
Well,
hyper.
I
I
think
Oh,
this
no, I'm
show,
sorry. You did.
Hyper.
You're right.
Said
I was
hyper.
I'm sorry.
this show allows us to get a little crazy.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is true.
To
I mean,
release that
So
side.
let
if we
the real
don't,
us come
I
out.
think if we don't, we would get swallowed up in the seriousness of
Yeah.
what we bring on, and that's one thing I don't want anyone to feel like we have lost that. You know, sometimes we have to find a way to ease up, and it brings that. But I think for me, if I look at mine as hyper, I'm always hyper when I begin, and I feel every time there's a question out, I feel like, who's going to say something? Or who's gonna, but again, thoughtful, because I think that you have to think about what's going to be said. I can't necessarily articulate it like you can, but I have to think about it first, and that's what I think. I've done that. I think I think about it.
Yeah, you do. You think a
I
lot.
think we need a new producer. But
You know, one of the, I mean, the thing that I appreciate most is that it allows you to liberate yourself from the tyranny of your own narrow perspectives. You know, I say things with a lot of confidence and assertiveness, but I don't believe everything I think. I mean, and recently one of our listeners, Raylene,
Yeah,
when she
yeah.
wrote in, she made me rethink something that I said, and this dialogue helps you to free yourself
Right.
from the prison of your own ideas, and so.
mercy.
I love that. That's, yeah.
You know, someone here on campus stopped me to talk about, you know, the podcast and how much she liked it. And I said, what is it that you like about it? She says, we don't get to talk like that normally. You know, you know, she said, I felt like you guys were being honest and just upfront and saying the kind of things that might be outside of the lines of proper or appropriate. And they like the idea that we kind of loosen up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we had to give that disclaimer at the beginning that we're not, the thoughts and ideas expressed by all of us on the panel were not necessarily those of the Alleghenies Conference. And I
Correct.
think that freed us up from having to make sure certain I's were dotted and T's were crossed and we could just be ourselves. Now, Marlena, you didn't have a chance to answer that because you weren't with us, but we want to know now. What are
Answer
those-
now.
What would you say your two
As all the
adjectives
eyes
would
turn to Marlene.
Well, if my friends were to describe me, I would think they would say I'm pretty happy and funny. I love to laugh, and I am a very busy person, so I would say I am very focused on what I have to do. And I think that would be pretty much it. I have a lot of other adjectives too, but just the first two. And it's just been a pleasure. What I like about this crew is that we can really just come together, talk about real issues, but really laugh and just be who we are. And even when we disagree, I mean, you know, there's no anger or anything
No anger?
like
No,
that.
there's anger.
Wait,
No
There's
anger.
anger. Wait.
There's no anger. There's a little
about-
cray-cray, but it's no anger.
No lasting anger.
and I mean, I love that. I mean, and we do cover some very tough subjects. I think one reason I'm here, they got me on some very passionate topics there, because I always believe in equality and justice. And if you get me in those shows, I'll take over. So I think that's how I got here. They didn't bring me on a little nice subject. So, but it's a pleasure. I mean, I think you guys are really who you say you are.
And likewise, we feel the same about you. And one of the things about the talks, you guys see us on that hour 15 minutes. You don't know that we've talked an hour before, 3 hours after.
Pre-show.
So there's a lot of dialogue that takes place with us.
Yeah. It seems like to me that when we say green room, which to most people know by now that, that's the pre-show discussion and prep.
Right.
But this is the first project I've been involved in that has a green room. And then after the show, there's a black room.
Great room.
And a during, and
But the green room can be really funny and exciting.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And we try to keep that hype by the time we get, behind the camera.
And we're probably going to give you guys a little taste. Next season, we'll give you a little taste of a little taste of the green room and the black room, some of what happens before and after the show.
as long as Tally don't cuss
Yeah.
when we go live, we'll be all right.
Well, he's already retired, so he's
retired,
good.
so he's
So,
all right.
yeah, no problem.
He's fine.
Oh, God.
And I have to say, knowing all of you, or getting to know all of you, you kind of think you know people on a surface or based on your interaction with them. But I feel like the podcast has given me an opportunity to really get to know who each of you is. And I have to say that, wow, not knowing the richness, just looking on the surface of what I've seen you do professionally, I see more so now knowing you personally that this was definitely the group, the nice blending together of a wonderful team. And so I just want to take this little pause to say, I appreciate each one of you and
We
what
thank
you
you, boss.
contribute.
Thank you.
boss.
Sounds like a raise.
Yeah, season 2, we're getting a paycheck.
Right.
I feel
Go
it.
from
I feel
nothing
it.
to nothing.
Yes.
Thank you for strong arming.
No.
But I mean, we tip the hat to you, Latasha, because
Yes.
it took a lot to make sure that this got going and that it continues, and
Right.
and
Exactly.
that's your work, and
I think that's the loyalty part of it.
Yeah.
You said that you were, the first one was crazy. Right? She said crazy.
Yeah, I said crazy.
The second one was
I think it was insane.
insane. Loyalty. I think to get those emails at all different times.
Yeah, that takes work.
True that.
and all the information that needs to be put together. I just wonder sometimes, like when we're in the green room, she's typing in the green room.
Yeah,
Right. And so
she's
as soon as
working.
it's over, you get an email. Like, when did you do all of this? So keep us on track. Good work, Latasha. Good work.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. I love you guys. But moving on now. So we spent a lot of time before our first episode just really talking about what we wanted this podcast to be. We were brainstorming. We knew we didn't want it to be stiff and stale, like we already said. We knew we wanted it to be fun and light and something that people could relate to. And so we finally figured out that we had a description that we felt comfortable with. And so in our second episode, we talked a little bit about what the Upset podcast was. Let's take a look at this clip. Pretty much the format will be, one of our hosts will present a topic. We'll give them their time to, share what they need to share. And then we're going to come up and upset it all. Like we're going to either agree or disagree with what everyone has to say. Now, we as a team, and you guys can back me up on this, have decided that we're okay with disagreeing as long as we're not disagreeable, right? That's kind of like...
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the basis for what we're doing. And, we want people to get comfortable with getting upset. And when we say upset, that means something that shakes you out of your norm, but also sets you up for expanding your mind to think about things a little differently and to expand your horizon.
Our job here at the Upset Podcast is not to tell you how to think or what to think, but to make sure you're thinking.
That you are thinking.
Yeah. And that's why we all have
Exactly.
different opinions.
Deep
And
thinking,
yeah.
right.
No, I think you should think the way I tell you to.
No, but you're joking. But there are a lot of people who have that mindset.
That's true.
And if
Yeah.
you challenge them, it's like, how dare you disagree with me?
Are you
Don't
saying
know?
like pastors, or what are you?
I'm not calling out any
not
particular.
not past.
Call them out. Call them out.
Evangelist for sure. I remember about one evangelist, somebody said, I wish I was as sure about anything as he seems to be about everything.
I just think the podcast is inviting people to think more critically, open up, not be so stringent, look at things from a different way.
We are the Upsetters from the Upset Podcast, and this is just a little snippet of the type of dialogue we're going to be having on various subjects from week to week, and we're inviting all of you to be engaged and to join us. Are you trying to look intellectual, Tally?
I was trying to look thoughtful and reflective, but so much for that idea at this point.
Guys, we talked about a few things in that episode that we felt the podcast would be. Now, that was us starting out, having not done one episode yet, thinking that this is what we wanted to do. Do you think what we said we were going to do, we've done? And just to refresh our memories, we said that we wanted to tackle those subjects that we don't normally hear about necessarily in our church. We wanted to be free to get upset and disagree without being disagreeable. Did we do that?
Have. I think we have.
Cover some
It's simply by the response from our viewers. Even during the live shows, you could see them putting in the chat, "Well, I'm glad we're talking about this," or "I've been enlightened," or "I never thought about that," or so. Just those affirmations was saying to me, we're right on target.
I agree.
I think we wanted to. I think we started off a little level-headed or safe, I should say.
Conservative.
Yeah, we started off safe, and then when we saw what people were saying in the chat, we were like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like we started off Adventist and then we became a Pentecostal.
Well, we did Baptist twice a year. Twice a year, but I think that's when when we started to get back in the green room. Our green room discussions were not as long until we started to say, wait a minute. We never even said be careful. We never used those words. We said we wanted to, how do you say, scratch where it itches. And I think that's when we kind of took off that armor and said, let's go deeper. Let's go to a place where we will even be
vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think we got to some points where we had to think to ourselves, do I really believe that?
Right. Yeah. Something about saying it out loud. Too,
Yeah, and I think we also realize that there are a lot of off-the-record conversations that members have and pastors have and neighbors have that we wouldn't put in a formal conversation. And I think that's what, several people have shared with me. They said, you guys, you have this open tone. Where you just speak openly about things that, I've thought of, but never really got in a conversation about.
That's true.
I think we've exceeded at least what I expected. First of all, just being able to talk openly with each other and to feel that familial connection, but then to see the engagement with listeners, people that we don't know, who are talking back to us. But, I know this is a bad interpretation of the text. In the beginning was the word. Everything starts with conversation. And what we're doing is helping people to realize that you don't go anywhere until you start talking about stuff.
That's right. That's right.
I think we've exceeded what I thought we would do.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, I remember initially having the conversation, even though I was excited about it. I was like, I don't know. Are the people really going to catch on to this? Are they really going to understand what we're trying to do? And, just putting it out there and the response. I have to say, I hate to say that I was surprised, but I was surprised. And the more engagement we saw from you all, the audience, the more it fueled us to say, okay, we got to keep this up. We got to go deeper. We got to hear from you. What do you want to talk about? There were times we had we're going to talk about this, this, and this. And next thing we know, no, that's all out the water. They want to talk about this. We need to talk about this. And I appreciated that flexibility that we had within the group where we were willing to take on anything. If people were talking about it, we wanted to talk about it. And
I think that's important today.
Yeah.
It's important for those of us who are Christ-centered. We need to be able to jump on those current events and give a biblical perspective or a Christian perspective, and not necessarily towing the line. It's just be able to speak candidly about these subjects, without being rude. But I think we made it our point to talk to them realistically.
And I just wanted to say, I just like the way that the audience felt comfortable with bringing us things. They saw that we talked about everything. Well, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Which made it even more entertaining. I mean, because I think we bring entertainment.
That's great.
With our ideas, and Tally does think that he is the wisest. He is Jesus and then Tally.
Yes.
And,
He sits on the Godhead.
Oh man,
That's why he needs to talk last. He doesn't need to
so
come out
untrue.
first.
So untrue.
See, that's how we knew Marlena needed to stay.
Absolutely.
When she could spar with Tally, when she could
Absolutely.
keep up with Tally.
that's my boy. He really is my guy.
Right.
I've been buked and
I remember even in one of our episodes, Marlena wasn't there, and Tally said, "Oh, I had a question for her. I'll wait."
Well, there's one thing we've all learned, that when Tally slowly raises his hand to speak, we all sort of brace ourselves.
We sit back and we hold on.
Especially when it says, "Now, what about this perspective?" It says in this
the
verse
Bible,
and chapter,
yeah.
and then after that, we should have a soundtrack of crickets. Right. When he finishes, we should have.
I remember the first time he said, "What say ye, Marlene?" I was like, "Oh."
I remember
I'm like, "Me first."
And some of his questions are oftentimes trick questions.
Yes.
So you got to be careful when you're answering one of his questions.
You want to say, "How come that didn't come up in the agreement?"
Exactly. Like,
Why
Tally,
you gonna
you
throw
putting
it
this
out
out
there
there.
like
Yeah.
Well, that
Deer
helps
in
us stay on our
headlights.
toes, though.
Definitely.
If everything went according to the green room, it would probably get pretty boring.
Yeah.
So we need some curveball. I've thrown a couple myself.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
Not as bombshell as
Oh, yes.
So Chuck speaking, be quiet.
I think me and Chuck, we're the first ones to have an argument.
yeah.
I think, well, not an argument, but back
debate.
and forth.
A
And it was-
debate,
I think
yeah.
it was on capitalism
Yes,
on Wall Street or
yes,
something
and-
like that, because I'm into crypto and all that.
Right.
Chuck was like,
Are you into crypto really?
Yeah, he is. You haven't seen it?
But don't get Chuck mad right
Don't
now.
get me started. Don't get me
But that's not money, is it, Chuck? I mean,
It's a new form of
Here we go
currency.
now. Here he comes.
look,
It's a new form of
if
currency.
I can't see it and I can't fold it.
Oh, listen, I got a
You can
whole
spend it,
tirade
though.
on Bitcoin and the whole thing.
Yeah.
but,
Well, speaking of that, some of those hot topics, next couple of weeks, we're going to be sharing some of the best of the upset. But just from us right now, what are some of those episodes that kind of stand out for you?
You know what? First, let me say this before. Marlena, we just got equipment. Right? So we, everybody just, using their webcams and all
Yeah.
that. We just got equipment. And I think we just Marlena either picked hers up or somebody dropped it off, dropped
picked
off at
it
a
up.
church
I came
or
to the
something.
conference
Oh,
and
okay,
picked
to
it
pick
up.
up. And every time in the beginning, we always have to start off with, okay.
They had to
Marlena,
help me.
Yeah.
Press the left.
Can you hear me?
This was the picture with Marlene.
And she told me to jump on and we could get on earlier, but we knew, that it always went. Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Marlena, you on? Hold on a second. Hold on. How I look, guys? Camera down. Center camera. Center.
Or we say,
Too high, you're too low.
or we just say reboot. Just reboot your computer.
No,
I mean, but the two of the episodes that I really remember are both very poignant. One was when we did the one on abuse, spousal abuse, and that was the green room and the black room were even more moving. And then the one where, I mean, sadly, and I say it hesitantly now, in the wake of the loss of our president.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
being in this room, just it brings it back.
Right.
And I'm amazed that I'm still moved by that. And,
that I
and,
agree.
it just,
I agree.
that was just one of those moments where I think we really did our jobs
Yeah.
to help people talk about the most difficult moment in this
Absolutely,
conference's
Yeah.
history.
And doing that live.
doing it
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
I think Nick, I can remember trying to hold back tears, and Nick came out with the tears immediately, and then we were like, "Oh man, Nick,
Yeah.
you can't cry."
And Sean came on, didn't he?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what it
Sean
was.
came
That
on.
was the
Sean
truth. Yeah.
came
And I mean, that guy's my hero. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah,
But to go back to it, and because you said it out loud, we could say it here: the domestic abuse, and so even when we're in the green room, you're not even really talking about it as much. And then when we go live, you start talking about your experience, and I think what it does to us, it brings family. You said you used the word for family, bring us together as familiar. I thought he said familiar, but because of his dictionary, I didn't know what he was talking about. So it's like when you see Justin say, "I'm having a baby," or you see, we all become tighter. Because of the conversations.
Yeah, and that's something you mentioned, GP and the baby, because I think it was one of the early episodes that we were talking about, you're going to be a father soon. You're going to be a father soon. And throughout the podcast, suddenly there was Elizabeth. And Elizabeth made her appearance here and there throughout the podcast. We said she's our honorary
I think we should let people know that she's been making her appearance.
Yes, you may have heard
The
Elizabeth.
sound of that baby that you hear.
That's Elizabeth.
That's
She's been really good, though.
She's
And her mother, Jackie's over there saying, keep talking about Justin and Elizabeth like she got here all by herself.
But I also think we went through ups and downs emotionally with each other. Because when Justin first pulled the baby out and had not pull the baby out, I mean, put the baby on screen.
He's really good.
I was like, I missed that.
The baby had on, what was it? The baby had on
The little helmet there.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Like when he
What you talking about, Willis?
What are you talking about?
The helmet.
The thing the baby wore.
Oh, the helmet.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Speed Racer helmet.
Yes, the helmet. Yes.
Speed Racer.
And no, the thing about it is that we were joking about the baby, but I think we also had this caring side that said, okay, is she going to be okay? And we were counting down the time when she would take it off. So I think all of us have been through something.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the green room, like you said before, that kind of brought us together.
Yeah.
And I can say personally, just from the loss of my mom.
Yeah.
So I was at the Fordham's funeral that Sunday. My uncle dies Monday the next day.
Yeah, we
The very
grieved
next
with you.
week, my mom dies. I don't know, and you guys were just so comforting. And as a pastor, I really understood when Jesus said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted," and he uses people, because when you can feel it in the flesh, though you're hurting. And amazingly too, when we did that broadcast on death and grieving, it was like a few days later, my mom died, and so it was like, wow, it was just so needed. So, I mean, you guys have meant so much to me.
Marlena, I got to tell you, the thing that amazed us was that you never looked like what you were going through.
Never.
You came on camera beaming, and I'm like,
Man, it was like, are you sure you want to be here? It's okay.
And I expected you to
I
come and
needed
sing
you
in Negro
guys.
spirituals,
I needed Tyler to say something crazy to me, so I'm back. I'm back. I feel it.
And I think we heard it first. I think it came through us the way we communicate on. And I remember calling you, and I was like, Marlena, you okay? And just to hear you weep, I was like,
wailing.
I didn't want. I mean,
wow.
I was like, okay, I gotta go. I just felt like we lost a part of our family also, and but that's what we're here together for. I didn't think that we would bond.
Yeah.
We have an Allegheny East bond,
Right.
but this bond is a whole lot different. So
Yes,
when we all retire with Tally, and we keep this thing going.
The other thing I think that is, we see it now more than we did when we began. The word upset means so many things to so many people on so many levels. I mean, life itself, reality, is just upsetting when we hear the news and our neighbor died and anything that would upset us. And I think that maybe we didn't characterize this program as therapeutic. But I do believe it is therapeutic for a lot of people who gravitate towards the
There's
topics.
Shoot, therapeutic for me.
There's this lady that comes on in our chat. What's her name? Carrie something.
Sister Charlotte?
Well,
Carrie
Carrie
Williams.
Carrie.
Dr. Carrie.
Carrie Williams.
I hear she has good taste in husbands.
I think so. But it sort of straightens him out online.
You guys.
But
when she comments on the show,
Yeah.
and when I come home, I walk in the door and I look at her, go, "How you doing?"
What happens on the podcast stays in the that's all right, but that's true. And so we've talked about kind of what the podcast has become, which, as you said, Tally, has exceeded our wildest imaginations. But we're really excited to keep on this journey and this ride in 2022. So what are you guys thinking as we prepare for our next season? How are we going to take this thing to the next level? What do you guys think? And those who are watching us, share in the chat some of the things, some of the topics, maybe some types of segments you want to see next year. We want to hear from you too. But guys, what are you thinking? How can we level up?
You know, I remember one of the show I remember was when we had the treasurer from Columbia Union on, you know, and we were asking them those tight questions about tithe, and that brother was tap dancing, trying to find a way to answer questions without answering questions.
But I have to give it to him. He was brave.
Oh yeah,
He
was.
came back twice.
He
He
came
came
back.
back again.
Came back.
He was
In fact, on the second
was-
show, he came back, business casual.
Yeah. He said, "I'm not wearing a tie. You guys are something else."
But you know, in as much as I'm realizing that this show is far exceeding conference boundaries.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that we can start pulling in some other leaders from around the country and asking questions that will allow them to break into a flop sweat.
I think one of the things that we should look forward to in 2022 is getting more people to comment on some of our subjects. You know,
Yeah.
Not necessarily experts, but people that we can defer to give a perspective that is not necessarily ours.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm looking forward to is doing this in person,
yeah.
recording together
Right.
on the road.
Yes.
Hop in a Suburban or
There you go.
custom RV
Yes.
and hit the road.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have
Go
several.
to Philly, go to Baltimore.
Yeah, I have several.
Go to
floor
Richmond.
plans for that.
Did anybody give GP a budget?
We'll talk to Lawrence Martin afterwards.
Dreaming, you got to put
But
it
you
out
see,
there.
you got to put out the vision before
Yeah,
the
you
provision
go,
comes.
That's right.
Hold on. I thought it was going to be me, but it was just now when it came to the microphones and all of that.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
Oh, it was him.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it was because usually it's me. Oh, I want to get all this technical stuff and this that. So GP is like, okay, these are the mics we all should get. These are the songs we all should get. And when we got it all written down, we were like, Natasha, take
I
it.
was
is
shocked.
what we
I was
want.
shocked that we
Swipe.
got it.
And it came in.
Yeah, shout out to Lawrence Martin and our
Yes.
administration for supporting.
Supporting this
So-
podcast.
So I'll slide a proposal to you for either a Sprinter van
Yes.
or
You going suburban, buddy?
Suburban.
Yeah.
Oh, no, in addition to.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
So here's audience where we ask you to write those letters
Yes.
directly to Lawrence Martin.
Yes,
But,
fully loaded Suburban.
But you know what? Not only on the road, but there's so many places on this campus that people don't know about that can be turned into studios where we can sit
Absolutely.
down and have these conversations together. Because here we are in the library. The average constituents don't even come into the library to see
Right.
what we have here.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have CC1 in different places that's
Mhm.
around. I think it would be
Especially
great.
the house too on the corner.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. We have the
Library.
house
That
and
would
all
be
that in the
great.
corner. So I just think that to open up our stance a little bit more and see what it's this place at Spring. It's
That was
awesome.
beautiful.
Yes.
I'm
You know,
looking out
one thing
right
our
now.
listeners can do for us, and you can edit this out if you think it's necessary. Write the administration, write us and tell us that we do want a Suburban. And I might add, it has to be black.
Give them the model. All that.
Yeah, but we want to look at putting in a permanent studio for the Upset podcast.
Nice.
So we can do this more. It's going to take a little bit more equipment and some art design, but a place where it's permanently set up. You know, we don't have the room in the media center per se. We have a smaller studio there, but But we do have the library. We do have Conference Center 1, and be set up permanently. So when the time comes, we come up here and we do it. And
Wow.
we need your support.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. This is sounding good.
You know what? Before you go, Tasha, maybe we can include merch, T-shirts, hats, mugs,
Man, I
pins.
hear you.
And that's something we got to ask you guys, because if we provided that, we can't just wear it. We want to see you guys representing the Upset where you are. So
Look at
if
us.
you
We
think
drink-
that's something you want to see,
We drink no name water now.
We are poor podcasters.
You know what I'd like for them to put in the chat right now? Who they follow. I was upset. I went to Justin's church.
I don't
They
wanna
had a
see my
fair
3
outside, and when they had the fair outside, I walked in. The lady ran up to me. She was like, "You're on the Upset podcast." I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Could you tell Charles?" I said, "Hi."
They follow Charles.
yeah.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's true. Look, at my church, I know they follow Charles.
Yeah.
I thought it was
And
gonna be me. You know,
But that's the kind of stuff we did in North Philly. We followed people.
Well, that's, yeah.
I try
For the
to
wrong
stay humble
reasons,
so my
but-
feelings don't get hurt.
But that's the thing about it. I think even though there's certain individuals, probably because they don't hear from you as much, Charles, a lot of
Yeah.
people are like
Well,
now
No,
enamored by
it's
you.
it's the bearing.
Yeah.
It is
The
the
beard?
bearing. The
beard?
bearing.
Oh, I thought it was the beard.
I mean, like for example, when first of all, Charles looks like he's really thinking about it. You know, and then he can stroke the beard. And Charles he can say something, and it just sounds amazingly pithy and wise.
Yeah.
Like it'll be Wednesday, and Charles will say, I'm thinking that tomorrow will be Thursday. And everybody's like, wow, that is just genius. And they just, he looks thoughtful and
Guys are
dignified,
terrible.
Yeah.
And then they shoot to me and it's like, oh, street traffic. And so
and yes, that is the voice of when you call up here. That is the voice you're hearing.
you've reached
voice.
the Allegheny East Conference.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was surprised, though, because I was struggling with being on this side of the camera. I was surprised when I saw emails that came in and said, "Yeah, Charles said this," or "I like what he said," and I'm like, "No, you don't want to like what I." Yeah,
Well, there are two guys over there behind the camera saying, we've heard enough of them.
But I
We don't think it's so
think,
funny.
I think when we did Native American,
Oh, yeah.
is now we have somebody on board who can
Yeah.
actually talk about it. When
Yeah.
Chuck was talking about that,
You could feel it.
yeah, it's
personal.
It becomes personal, and I think that Charles, I do think you add so much to this group with not just the wisdom of White here, but technology, and I think getting out there, this turned into what I thought was just going to be an activity, and it flipped into a ministry.
It's a ministry
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Into a
Yeah.
ministry.
Yeah. Wow.
And
well,
that's
I think
why it's gone up.
looking
It's all
back,
gone.
I think what we all bring to the table was providential. Different perspectives, from the technical to the scholarly to the, because I do consider Nick, Bill, William. I do consider him a scholar.
Sure.
He is scholarly.
For sure.
And as much as we cringe when he starts to talk,
Look it up first, guys. Look it up.
at the end of his spiel, we go,
Yeah. Now that we end the show,
And that's what I like too. I think we all learned from each other. We research different topics and we find, but what I have gleaned from all of you, who knew? I didn't know that I was going to learn so much from all of you. I'm not to say
They don't know.
it's a,
I didn't
let's
think
get a bunch of
I didn't
dummies.
think you idiots had a thing to offer me.
here's what I'd like to add. Here's what I'd like to add to that. In the beginning stages, anytime like we as pastors move from church to church or something like that, you always ask the question, did administration pray? You ask that question, or how did I end up in this place? Or I think with the podcast, I've never knelt down and said, God, that we get the right people. There were a lot of names that were there. And I have to say, it wasn't like 4 or 5 names over, but it was a lot of names. And just to think that God orchestrates what he wants.
exactly.
Because it could, when I look back at some of the names, I say to myself, that probably wouldn't fit. Or it probably wouldn't work out this way or that way. After Pick and Tally, there's nobody else that you can pick on.
That's why
Pat
you have
just
to
said to
stay.
those of you who thought you were going to be on New York, God said no.
Was it me?
You are home by divine decree.
Well, I think it boils down to chemistry. It's just chemistry.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of shows in Hollywood, entertainment, and in movies, you know, a lot of them end up, you know, they may come to a set as total strangers until they become the show, and then that's when the chemistry comes. You know, and you feel lopsided if one of those pieces aren't there.
Right.
You know?
Let me give you memorable Christmas. So I was supposed to start off Christmas, and you guys, whoever's watching now, you can go back. It's only one episode behind, and I knew that I just wasn't ready to start to head out the Christmas one. I think the strong armor. What's her name?
As we call it, Attila the Honey.
She was just like, okay, I'll go ahead and do it.
No, this was like 1 minute and 40 seconds before we went live.
Yeah.
Who's leading this? I don't know if I'm going to lead this. So, again,
I don't think it was me. I think somebody else said Tally. He's like, yeah.
No.
Was it me?
it was you.
Okay.
It was you.
I'll take credit.
And Tyler said, okay, I got it. Then I don't know if you guys can't see this, but she'll move the person to the top part, right? Okay, so Tally, you really doing this. Then it's almost like a light switch went off, and
Yes.
Tally just started. I don't even have the words. I'm doing it like mumble rap.
We're
I don't even have the words.
Mumble rap.
And as soon as he got down to the end of it, we were just like, now let's hear from our sponsors.
Right. Show over.
Thank you for being with
back
us.
to
I know. That's true. That's true. We're always all amazed by that.
I have a slight advantage, and that is daily I'm doing this, and so it's almost like you go into a little cabinet, push a button, and you play a tape.
Wow.
And so it's
So that's why we're so blessed to have you as part of this team.
Yeah.
Bill.
you know it.
Your being on the radio and really being in touch with the rest of the world
Yeah.
brings a lot of pluses to the table.
Well, I'm indebted. I mean, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. You know, my entire career and all of the activity in radio and music started with Charles when I was 17 and in Philadelphia. I mean, I had no clue. I was just a poor kid from Philly. And Charles was at our church. He was the resident technician. I mean, he had a reel-to-reel when none of us knew what it was.
Wait, what's that?
What's that? Yeah, right.
What's that?
Looked like two big old wagon wheels. And I mean, I remember one time watching him splice a tape, and I didn't know you could do that kind of thing. And so
With a
I was
razor
always
blade.
fascinated. Yeah, with a razor blade on a block. And I was
Thank
always
the Lord for
fascinated
digital
watching him.
audio.
Yeah, now,
Fingers all mangled, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm in, working with Charles like this is, he doesn't know it, but it's like, I still feel like I'm like a young man wearing his daddy's suit. I feel like I'm, I'm hanging with
You
grown-ups.
really make it
So-
hard for me.
wow.
I mean, the first time you said that on the show, I'm like, what?
No, but this isn't great. And speaking of giving kudos, I know you guys, we have our intro and our outro, and we want to give credit to the musician among us who
Yes,
was responsible
yes,
for
yes.
that little jam that we
Yes.
come in and leave out on. None other than
I found myself humming that drive.
Yeah.
Right down the road. Dun, dun, dun.
How did you come up with that? Because you say you really didn't. How did you create that?
If you listen to it carefully, and I remember talking to your sons about this, it's the opening for Skype.
Right.
So you kind of use.
I can
it
see
in
the brown.
hip-hop
I
or
can see the
whatever.
brown
I see the
envelope
lawsuit
now.
coming.
Yes, I see it. But do we cheat them and how?
I mean, they can't do anything. If you flip it, it's flipped. So really, those who listen to Skype, who start their
Use
thing with
Skype, yeah.
they can
Yeah,
hear
you
it.
pick up on it.
You can
Yes.
hear it in the background.
They are not
It's
our
an opening for
sponsor, and
Skype.
we have no.
Yeah, we have no right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
it's.
thank God that only one of us will go to jail.
We didn't know anything about it.
Right.
We just
They didn't
found
say it
out
out loud,
on
right?
December.
Well, I mean, no, but
But
that
no,
was
yeah.
that was real creative.
Yeah,
there.
That was good
that's
job.
You know, and
Yes, it
And who
was.
did the video
Steve,
work?
and I was gonna say shout out to Steve Woods.
Yes. He's
a beast.
Steve,
created that.
yes,
Steve
Steve
is
is
a
a beast.
Thank you.
from our North Philadelphia church, and so we thank him for that because we've grown to like need it, like that gets us pumped that 30 seconds before, and
Yeah, it
it
does.
kind of winds us down at the end. But before we go, we do have to bring on our honorary 7th member, GP.
yeah.
So can you
Yes.
just go ahead and grab her and bring her over here because. You know, she's always part of our green room. She's part of our black room.
Dad,
And
where are you taking
once
me?
or twice, she's been part of the show.
Oh, she's for it.
This
Look at
is
that smile.
Elizabeth.
You want the mic, don't you?
She's a
Say
star
hi,
baby.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your dad with us.
Best was when she was sleeping the other day on the. I think.
Oh yeah, she was sleeping on the
couch.
couch right while you was
You
doing
have to be
it.
quiet now.
She
Yeah,
has.
give her the mic. So she-
What do you
What do you
say?
have to
Say
say?
something.
What do you have to say about all this, Elizabeth?
She says, "I'm gonna upset
As
you,
a
Daddy."
member of the younger generation, I have always thought that the upset me.
I remember we were giving you parental advice. Remember that GP
Yes.
during one of the episodes? Oh, yeah, be careful of this. And now you're living it out, and
I know
it's
that
great to
GP
see.
and Jackie, they're saying, if you think this child is beautiful, wait until our 6th child.
look at the look on her face.
It was said here first on the Upset
Jackie
podcast.
said, "This is the last time I'm coming around."
You know what I really admire, GP, the fact that when we had to go on and record or go live, if you were needed as dad,
You see that
didn't
thing go
matter.
blank.
She was on the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Either on the show or you see it go blank.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Like,
Right.
That's
Very
right. Liz
commendable.
comes first.
Family first.
That's right.
The amazing thing is, I remember when her mother was just a little bit older than this. We were doing an
Wow.
evangelistic meeting, and every night, Jackie and I would drink apple juice. And literally.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, we were doing an evangelistic meeting, a huge evangelistic meeting in Philly.
Wow.
And she had the same
circle.
intense stare, the one that you see right now. Same intense stare.
Like it wasn't apple juice.
Yeah, you had apple juice in your box.
But if
guys.
you really want to turn it, and everybody, and I know we all feel the same way. Latasha, you work very hard.
You
Yes,
do. I
so
was just going to
appreciate
say
you.
that.
Yep.
Amazing.
Excellent.
Thank
excellent
you all.
vision.
And you make it look
Right.
easy, and we know it's not.
Yeah.
And it should be noted for
And
those.
I
who
like
listen.
the command and control mode that she goes into.
Yes.
Command
know
and
what
control.
you guys are talking about.
You will be there at 9:45.
Yeah. Said
We
with a
are
smile,
going to start.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, so who's gonna head out? Oh, you are, Marlene. Like, okay.
They say that tact and grace is the ability, and I please excuse the language, to tell someone to go to hell wearing gasoline drawers and have them whistling as they pass.
Okay, I will.
But
I think that's a compliment.
I
Yeah.
think.
but the other thing that I think people need to know is that we all we work for the conference and all, but none of us are this is not. We're not compensated for this. This is
Not yet.
This is, GP says, I'm working on that. We're going to get a van. I'm coming out with sunglasses on and calling for makeup. But this is something we do as a part of our ministry and just, freely offering ourselves. And we hope that it serves the needs of people.
That's
And I really like the fact that our listeners respond
I do too.
when we're live. Please keep responding. And if we say anything or do anything that upsets you,
Yeah, hold us accountable.
absolutely.
And I want to say that we pray. We pray before we come on. We don't, come on, in self, but we pray for the power of God to be with us. And so I know that's important because some people say, hey, you guys pray. They want to see us, but we do that.
Marlena, you know when it happens, right? So we're all talking. Chuck says, 49 seconds. 49 seconds till what? Till live. 49 seconds till live. Okay, Pat, who's closest to God over here?
Pat's our chaplain.
Yes, it's our podcast past. But yeah, like you said, Tally, I know, just so that the listeners know, the dedication of this team to come together every week, twice a week, to prepare and then to record. It has just blown my mind, the level of dedication each one of you has exhibited, and that is truly to be applauded. Right, Elizabeth? Give us a little cheer. Cheer for the upsetters.
I want to give a little shout out to our technicians.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. We want to thank, we know they don't like to be on camera. We wonder where they get that from. It's in the Williams blood, but we want to give a shout out, namely
Yes.
to Evan Williams and Bryce Williams.
Listen, what I think of, let me tell you what I think about them. It's when something goes wrong in our taping,
All right.
and then we're
Take
like,
that out.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Bryce will handle it. What number we at? We at 47 minutes and so. He'll handle it. And then when you look at it, you say,
Wow.
Wow.
Seamless.
Yeah.
what
it's
happened
just-
here?
Well, I just want to say these guys make the media center.
Yeah.
They
The,
do.
the amazing thing about the Williams brothers is that when they're not doing this, they have a gospel music group. I mean, just
They travel
incredible, you know?
around.
Oh, man, I feel like
They look different in person, but
Sleep around your own
Sleep around your own story, yeah.
before you try to sleep around mine.
Too bad we can't. Too bad we can't tell them to turn the cameras around to themselves just for a second. I know they're not going to do it, but anyway. Well, guys, this has been fun. I think we're
Yeah.
definitely going to have to get together more often. We're starting something here. The episodes may be longer, but no, this has been a great first season for the Upset Podcast, and we can't say it enough. We thank you, our audience, for listening, for engaging us, for challenging us. And we want you to continue with us on this journey. And so, like we always say, if you have things you want to see happen in season 2 or topics you want to see covered, reach out to us, upset@aecsda.com. We're looking forward to a great season. For the next 2 weeks, we're going to be playing back old episodes, a little mashup of different things, different topics we've covered over the next 2 weeks. So if you haven't had a chance to see the Upset Podcast, this is your opportunity to get it in a concentrated fashion for the next 2
It's going
weeks.
to be really funny.
Yeah. We look back and say, wow, we said that, we laughed that much. But thank you guys for being on this journey with us. We want to say happy holidays to all of you.
Happy holidays.
Happy
And
holidays.
thank you so much for
Happy
your
Kwanzaa.
support of the Upsets.
Happy Festivus.
Bye, guys.
Now, this is when she pressed the button and we're like,
Dun, 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 dun.
Doom, 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 doom.